Hey guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate. My name is Dean Harris. I'm the Vice President of Sales at Crest Core Realty. As always, I'm joined by Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Great.
Douglas is our founder, principal broker, so we're happy to have him with us. Today we're talking about don't be the victim of our current interest rate hike. I mean, the one thing that's everyone's talking about and that is, hot is recession and interest rate, right? So
interest rates up.
Interest rates are climbing and going, and they're not done.
They're not done.
So what we're going to talk about today is how to not be a victim to that. You have two choices where I looked at this and then last podcast too about, don't waste a recession. But you got two choices in my mind. You can sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else, or you can get involved in the game and participate and learn and get a flow and get a feel of what's going on. And I am never, ever going to tell you to wait.
No, right.
I'm never going to say it's a good idea to sit on the sidelines. If you're an investor, if you're an active investor and you're out, I'm never going to say, hey, let's pause and wait. You just got to buy differently now.
Yeah.
It has to change things. So what's some of the first things that we hear and we talk about when we're talking about don't be a victim?
Yeah. I think, you ever been whitewater rafting?
Yes.
Yeah. Family,
Yeah.
So exactly. So I thought about it as like, this is like whitewater rafting. Like you're in the boat and you're having fun and, maybe it's a float trip and you're drinking beer and you're just carrying on. The sun's great. The water's calm and cool.
Sure.
And then like you look up ahead.
Start hearing it.
And you start hearing it and seeing they're the rapids.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can just keep hanging and doing whatever you've been doing in the calm water, or you can say, oh, I see the rapids coming. Gonna tighten up my helmet. I'm going to get a firm grip on my paddle. I'm going to store everything cooler, get it all buckled down. I'm going to get myself up under the side of the tube.
Learning all that. Yeah.
And then when the rapids come, you can handle them, maybe enjoy them. You definitely prepared for them, as opposed to just letting them kill you.
Couldn't be a better analogy.
So that's what it feels like to me about don't be a victim of the interest rate hikes. Like they're coming and you can't, like the rapids, they're coming. You could be a victim of the rapids, or you could prepare for them and get yourself ready, and then they're not so bad.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Because for the last couple of years, we've all been just kind of cruising along, enjoying the sun.
Taking off your shirt, just jumping in and just having the time of our lives.
Oh, it's been so great. Now we're coming up on, what are they grade those, 1 through 5,
right?
Now we're
class 3, maybe getting class 4. Lord willing, they're not going to be class 5 rapids and people be unprepared.
Right.
Because even though it's been a really dramatic hike really quickly, everybody knew it was coming.
Right.
This doesn't surprise anybody because of where we've come over the past couple of years.
You had a
Not
great
to mention
point.
the past 10 years of low
The only
rates.
thing we wish they might have done, like you said yesterday, was, let's start slowing down a little earlier. You had a perfect example.
Yeah. Another analogy.
And they rode the bike. And they saw the traffic stopped up ahead, but didn't start to brake. They braked when they absolutely had to before they
waited
had
till
a
the
crash.
last minute and they come skidding in there, as opposed to letting off the gas and letting us kind of calm and come in for what they called the soft landing. They could have helped. There was no soft landing. No, they were talking about it, and then it's just like.
And here we can. And it's not over. So it's like, I think
over.
that's a great analogy, and that's what we've been doing for the last couple of years, is just floating along. Well, now we're hitting some good rapids, and now we're going on some rougher waters. And to keep with that analogy, are you going to get out of the boat, right in the middle of it or right before it? No. You're going to stick it out, and you're going to go through it, and you're either going to fall out and wipe out, or you're going to hang tight and stay in there. I think I want you to hang tight. I think that's what this podcast today is about.
Yeah, and I think, to keep going with that analogy, there's certain things like you can't do while you're in the middle of it. You might not want to grab your helmet. You might not want to grab the cooler, but you can hold your paddle tight.
Sure can.
You can make sure you're up under there. You can, you can pay attention. So there are things you can do in the midst of it, but there are things you can't do in the midst of it. So what we're saying is, before you get to it, address those items that you need to, or that you're not going to be able to address during the heat of the battle, so to speak.
One way to hold the paddle tighter, in my opinion, is to buy deeper.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest things with a interest rate hike, recession, you obviously want to buy deeper, and that's easy for me just to say at a 30,000 foot view. But what does some of that mean? What are ways that you can do that? For one, I think everyone's going to have more patience.
Yes, I said be patient.
You're going to have more patience.
Yeah.
You're not, last year you could see a house on the market, and if you were willing to pay it like an auction almost, it was yours, right? That's not what we're in right now. I'm not advising anybody to think and set any kind of expectations of that's what's going on. I think you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to make more offers than maybe you were.
Yeah.
You're going to have to find that right seller right now that needs to get out of a house, and they are out there.
They are, for sure.
That's the part that bothers me a little bit about this is I think that because we've slowed down, people are thinking that there's no inventory and there's no houses out there. Actually, there's more.
Inventory's building.
There's more. There's more options because
and some buyers are sitting on the sideline, choosing to sit on the sideline.
That's what I'm
so there's
saying.
more opportunity. There's not only are there more houses, but they're less seller. I mean, they're less buyers.
Right.
So you got a double wind behind
right.
tail.
And
tailwind.
with the rate going up, your buying power goes down. It forces you, if you're borrowing, it forces you to buy deeper.
Yeah.
You just need to take it another step further. Say, hey, this is the reason why. So buying deeper is the biggest thing. We've been talking about that with our colleagues in the building and with all of our buyer clients is like, hey, shoot a little lower. We were coming in at list price and above. Maybe it's list price and below now, right? Like things are shifting.
And don't be embarrassed or afraid or think you're going to insult a seller.
Yeah.
It's harder. It's more insulting in the rising seller market. This is not a seller market anymore.
No.
They will take, hey man, even if you insult me, I would like an offer.
Had a 3-house package today. A guy, it was listed at 260. A guy offered 235, and we're real close.
Real close.
So see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, and these are good houses. So
right.
you
would have been paying 260 plus
6 months ago.
6 months ago.
I mean, maybe 9, but yes, you would have.
You would you would get laughed out of the room if you came in anything less than asking price.
Now this guy's entertaining it.
Yeah, now he's entertaining it. That's
hey,
right.
Hey man, things have changed.
So you're right. Buy deeper, be patient. I think those are great advice. Buying differently. I think another option if you're financing properties, because that plays into this, is you can put more money down.
Yep.
So that your rate and your monthly payment stays the same. So if you put a little more money down, that can help offset the increased interest rate.
Yep.
You can also extend the amortization.
Okay.
So instead of a 15 or a 20 or a 30, just whatever matches. Again, it might not be the quote long-term strategy that you want, but it's how to be different right now and allows you to keep in the game. And you can always refinance if and when rates come down. They'll come down sometime. Is it going to be in the next year? No. Is it going to be in the next 5 years? Maybe. Next 10 years? Again, you don't know when, but when it goes down, you can always refinance.
I believe, and this is what I had this conversation yesterday, I believe we're at where it's going to be for a while. I mean, I think it's going to go up a little bit more.
Sure.
And maybe a little bit more.
Yes.
And I think we're going to coast right there for a while. I don't think we're going to come back. Honestly, let's be honest. I don't think it's going to come back to where you can get a 20-year loan for 3.25%.
Man.
It's just not going to happen. Just like I think
the good old days, right?
Yeah,
That's
right.
The good old days.
Just like I think 2008 and 2009 is not going to come back, that type of crash.
No,
I also
that's not
don't
coming
think
back.
that we're going to come back and get a 3.5% interest rate again.
We're a long time from that because of where
yes.
inflation is and where so
so
they're not going to let us get there.
comfortable.
Get comfortable. That's right.
Yes.
Get comfortable, and you
Yeah.
can. I mean, we started doing this years and years ago. Rates were higher.
Yes.
You
So
know.
it's possible.
Oh, yeah.
These prices are going to flatten and come down a little bit. You're going to learn how to invest in this climate. So the biggest catch for me too, what was buying it differently. One other thing I have too is sell.
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, like you're going through the rapids, you're to stay with this. We're floating along and everything's going great. You see a really tough rapid coming up. Maybe you get rid of some of your gear.
right.
Maybe you don't want some of this to fall on your head as you're going to come through this 4 count wrap, whatever.
Right.
So maybe you get rid of some of that gear. Maybe you trim some of the fat. Do you have a portfolio and you got 3 or 4 that aren't performing, that are just dead weight? Let's
Yeah.
move those. Someone else can have an opportunity at that. And don't think because that didn't work for them, you can't make it work. You ever been to casinos and saw a slot machine not hit for an hour and a half? The fella get down and sit right beside it, and there it goes.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of the housing market or housing transactions
right.
can happen like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think I like to call it right sizing the portfolio.
There you
like
go.
That's what you're trying to do. And I'm on the analogy kick today, and I was thinking about our fantasy football league.
Yeah.
Right. This is exactly what we're every week. Like our little app is like, so and so made a trade, so and so cut a player, so and so picked up a player, because it's like you got to right size your portfolio. You don't stick with the same fantasy football team for 16 weeks.
No.
Like you have, some people perform, some people get hurt, different things happen.
Yes.
And so you're constantly making minor adjustments, tweaks to the roster.
Yep.
And that's kind of what you're doing with your houses too.
Yes.
You're finding those houses for whatever reason they didn't perform, or you've made a strategy shift. You and I have talked about some of the changes we've made in our own portfolios over the years, where we started versus where we are today versus where we're heading, and some of the things. So as you know, I had one closing. It's the side's closed. I was emailing with your team this morning about how to try to get this totally finalized today.
Yeah.
So because it just didn't fit the long term. It didn't fit in the portfolio long term. Had it for 10 years. And it was ready to move it.
That's hot. That's a great example of exactly what I meant in going through this. You might only have 5. You might have 500. It doesn't matter. Right. If something's not performing, this is a way that you can avoid a pitfall. Let's sell it. There are buyers out there buying. We closed over 20 last month.
Congrats.
Yeah. We're going to do over 20 this month. People are still, it's lower than what we have. But people are still buying and selling investment deal. We were at, one a day.
That's great.
Right. And that's kind of what we shoot for. And of course we're not there, but I am reaching deeper conversations with investors, which I'm enjoying. For the last 2 years, if I'm being honest, write it up, buy it.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Right.
Yeah, sure. We're cashing checks, right? But I mean, I'm really beginning to strategize and talk with investors now who are seeing the rapids coming up, and they're either saying after our call, "Hey, it sounds like I'm okay," or "Oof, I need to make some changes. I need to do some things. Like I've got some interest rate. My guys that bought in 2017." Well, guess what this year is?
Refi.
It's refi.
Or it's time to renewal.
Rate adjustment time,
Maturity.
right? And it wasn't as low then as it was the last 2 years, but it was at 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Now they're pushing
6.5, 7.
7.
Yeah.
So there's some adjustments that are coming up right now. Those are the conversations that I'm having with guys. If they've mismanaged or done whatever for any reason, that might be one way that you can prepare yourself for what's coming up. Because it's going to get worse, right? That's what we're agreeing on.
That's good. And again, just as a quick aside, like for that scenario when they refinance, like, hey, if you have a little extra cash and you want to put it down to pay down your principal so that your payment stays about the same, that's a good way. Or if you extend that mortgage amortization out a little bit so your payment stays the same, it kicks a little bit in on the back end, but at least from a cash flow perspective, you're still okay. And we talk about raising rents, we talk about different opportunities to the good news, and I don't know where it fits in to today's talk, but the good news is, in my experience, during these tough times, rents are going up, but occupancy is high and collections is high. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a little bit counterintuitive because you're like, wait, it's hard times. Why is everybody paying? Why is everybody paying and why aren't they moving? Why are they staying in these houses? Because I'm thinking of my experience through the past, since I've been kind of in Memphis business since 96.
Yep.
So for those 25 years, what I've been seeing is when the hard times come, people focus on paying their housing, their transportation, their utilities, and their food. Everything else becomes discretionary.
Yes.
So they want to keep a roof over their head. In the good times, it's like, who cares? I can find another place. I can buy another place. Money's rolling in. It's like, no. Times are tight. I am keeping a roof over my head. That is priority number one. Yeah. And so believe it or not, occupancy and rent collection go up.
Yeah, because people realize they got to have a place to stay.
They got to.
They don't have to go to the movies or have these other things. They don't have to do that. But they got to have a place to live.
And money's not coming in when you kind of get
like it was.
Like it was.
That's
so
right.
It's like all of a sudden. So anyway, all that to say that there's that opportunity.
Yeah.
When you're investing in those portfolios, that your rent is going to go up, even though some of the expenses, rent increases, collection higher than, and occupancy higher than you anticipated.
Yep.
So all of a sudden you're getting more money per month than you thought you were going to get.
Yes.
So you're able to afford a little higher mortgage rate
Than what you thought.
Than what you planned
That's
on.
exactly
expected.
right.
So that, yes.
One other thing that some people might disagree with, but it's my thought. If you're in a situation where you'd love to increase some cash flow, how about let's buy some more houses? I know that sounds weird, and that you're creating more debt. But if you're buying a good property, you see what I mean?
Yes.
And you might not follow me, and that's okay. In my mind, if you're at 3 and 4 and things aren't really working right there or not working how you want them to, well, keep your eyes open for something else that will add to this. To me, it's like, why pump the brakes? It's not, you're surviving, you're making it. And I don't mean the guy that is barely paying the bill.
This isn't borrowed to get ahead.
No, not really. It's let's create a bigger company. I mean, a bigger revenue stream. But the danger in that is buying the right property, right?
Yeah.
The danger is that is if you buy the wrong property, you can go the other way quickly.
Yeah.
That's this one. If I had to put a check, that's the riskier.
But again,
mentality.
that plays in exactly where I was coming from. Is that when we're looking forward, your occupancy is going to be high. Your rents are still going up. Inflation is still here, and rents are still going up. We talked about this before. Don't get on 24, 36-month leases. Try and stay on a 12-month or less.
Yes.
So you can increase your rates. Your occupancy should be higher, and your collection should be higher. So
Yes.
So to your point, if you buy it right, which we were talking about, buy it deeper, and you put it on whatever financing program you do, whether it's cash or financed, and you manage that property well, it should create additional cash flow.
Yes.
And as you build your portfolio, you should continue to create additional cash flow.
Yes.
And it gets into to nerd out a little bit on it. The law of large numbers.
Yeah.
That's what insurance does. It's like, man, if you get a big enough pool, you can predict what's going to happen.
That's my point.
That's your point. If it's 1, it's feast or famine.
If it's 3, it's feast or famine.
If it's 3, it's feast or famine. But if you
Yeah.
get to a portfolio to size, or if you get some properties that are in the right place in the portfolio, such that the statistics start taking over and you're cash flowing, which is your point. It reminded me of a proverb, Proverbs 14:4, that says that where there are no oxen, the manger is clean, but abundant crops come from the strength of the oxen. So basically, it's like, if you want a clean stable, don't have any oxen.
That's exactly
But if you
right.
want to have a field and to work the field and get the production, the crops, guess what? You got to take care of the oxen. You got to clean up the stalls. You got to work your tail off. But you have fruit
That's my point.
that produces at the end.
Yeah.
But guess what? It's a little bit harder, and it's a little bit counterintuitive, because guess what? Having a clean stable,
That's no good either.
that's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Right.
But that's no good.
That's no good.
That's no good. So I think that's what, to me, that's kind of what you're saying, of like,
That's
hey,
100% of what I'm saying.
let's put some more work into this.
Yes.
And you will be rewarded for that work.
Now you got to, move delicately, but yes, I mean, like I've done it, and I'll go into more detail if somebody wants to call or come in. And like, I've done that. I've added some more great houses that had more cash flow. They were actually more expensive than any houses I bought. And you would think, why in the world in this time would you do that? But that's the reason why.
Yeah.
I wanted to add these houses that were higher rents, that provided more cash flow. The bank loved it. I told the bank about this, and they were just like, wow, okay. Let's go.
Well done.
Well done. Let's keep moving. And they loved it. So that was the reason why I put that on there.
Good job.
You might have, that description was a little bit better.
That's,
than the reason why,
man,
but
that so exactly,
was
we're on the
perfect.
same page.
Yeah, that was perfect analogy of it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no oxen, it's clean. And yes, it's clean, but that's not what we're doing.
There's
That's not
nothing
what we're doing here.
we're
we
building
want a field full
business.
of stuff and going.
Correct.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Last thing I had was, you touched on a little earlier, was always raise your rent. Always be looking, and a lot of people are, they pay on time. I'm like, well, golly, like.
For raising rent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to raise it. They pay me on time. I go, well, if they go and call around and they want to rent a similar home to yours, they're going to realize that the market rent is up.
And that what you just said, in certain times, that strategy works and it makes sense. Right now, you don't have to do that.
No.
You can raise the rate on that because, I think where you're going with this, to me, is like this. Like if real estate has a superpower, it's the ability to raise rent.
Yes.
It is what we talked about last time of an inflation hedge. It is the opportunity to take advantage of inflation. Is real estate superpower. Is raising rent. Okay, imagine you're playing a video game and you got like some super button you can push and you can attack or kill or do whatever you need to. Or if there's a car game and you got turbo boost or something, and like you're racing all these cars and you hit turbo boost and you're like, woo, and you just leave everybody in the dust. But what if you have this superpower and you don't use it? And you're like, man, this is such a hard race. This is such a hard race. All these cars around me. That's what you're saying.
With a trunk full of nitrous and you're not using it.
You're not using it. It's like if you're not raising your rent, you're not using real estate superpower.
That's so powerful.
That's so what that you're just saying.
Yes.
That is exactly
And I think you're neglecting your business. I take it a step further and just you're doing it a disservice.
Yeah.
You're mismanaging at the highest level. If you're saying the superpower is to raise the rent, then you're doing, and you're not, then to me, you're doing the absolute worst thing that you can do for your business. To me. If that's the description in it, which I 100% agree with, that's real estate superpower.
Yeah.
If you're not raising the rent, you're in fact doing the worst damage to your business that you can do. To me, the value stays down. You don't protect yourself on inflation. The tenants don't understand that they're in a current market conditions.
Right.
If you leave them stale for 3 years, then you want to come raise the rent. Well, why? You haven't done it for 3 years. You're just going to cause that kind of friction. But
and not to mention that they're disconnected from reality. And I mean, in all fairness, you want to help people understand what's happening.
Yes, we're living with the times. This is not just a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah.
I'm running a business, so I'll say that again. I think I'll agree with your point that real estate's superpower is raising the rent. My point to that is if you're not doing that, you're doing the worst thing you possibly can to your portfolio.
Yeah. A disservice to the portfolio.
If that's the superpower, you know what I mean? And you're not using it.
I mean, I think that's what, again, going back to that inflation hedge, that's the beauty of what real estate offers is you can raise the rents as inflation goes up.
Yeah.
Where some things you can't raise prices.
No,
and
I
that's
agree.
a hard place to be in when you can't raise prices. Again, that's a superpower real estate has.
So wrapping that up, great topic. Let's a real quick market update. I know,
good one.
I know that right now I'm going to give these every show. We usually only do this once a quarter.
I think that's a good idea.
But for now,
it's changing quickly.
Every day. So I am the last or 2 weeks ago when we did this. I'm basically seeing the same thing. Rates are going to creep up again.
Yes.
We're going to see a little bit more of a stall. We're going to see a pocket of investors really thrive. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a huge, big pooled lake of investors that are going to stall. I'm not saying fail, so listen to my words. They're going to stall and float along. Okay? They're going to be all right, but they're just going to stall and float along. There's going to be another pool that sink. I'm just here to tell you.
Right. Well, yeah.
They're going to sink.
Right.
They're coming. You might be listening. You might be one of them. They're going to sink. And then there's another pool over here that's going to really, really thrive.
Yeah.
They're going to take advantage of this situation. They're going to come out of this squeaky clean. They're going to be way ahead when the market does shift again. And it's up to you guys listening of which one of these pools you're going to stay in.
Golly, that's so good.
The majority of you are going to sit in this floating pool. Yeah. I'm just telling you. They're going to float and they're going to be all right-ish.
Man, no, I'm just thinking back to that kind of river rafting analogy of, some people are going to go through there and crash and flip and lose all their stuff and everywhere. Some people are just going to make it through. Somehow their boat didn't flip and then they made it through.
Yep.
But then that last group you described who are going to hunker down, they're going to go through those rapids. They're going to sail through them. And then when they get through,
high-fiving.
And they're going to be so far ahead of everybody else because the people who flipped are trying to get all their stuff together. The people who just barely got through are like, oh my gosh, how did I make it through? What?
Yes. Are we here?
Are we here? Are we safe? Where's everything?
All
Let's
my
get this back
limbs.
together. And those others are like that. That's when you're going to see, like, from the end of the rapids till the middle of the next cycle. Those people are going to have such a head start.
Yeah.
The ones who've hunkered down and been paid attention and aren't victims, and they're using this opportunity, all the things we keep talking about.
But those are the 3 pools that you guys are going to fall in. I know I'm forcing myself to get into this.
I am forcing myself to, and you got to worry, or else if you're not worried, you're just going to hit those rapids and sink. Or, best case, you're going to make it through. Worst case, you're going to sink.
You're going to sink.
Whereas this, you're going to sail through. You're going to be prepared. You're going to be able to navigate. You're going to be in control.
I refuse to miss this again. Missed it once. Not going to miss it in 9, 10, and 11. Not going to miss it again.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm just preparing ourselves. You guys prepare yourselves.
Yes.
If you have any questions, dean@crestcore.com. Happy to chat with you, set up a time to talk. We buy and sell. If I help buyers, I help sellers. If you have any questions on either one of those things, let me know. I can give you a free analysis on your current home. Anything else today?
Man, it was a great show.
Okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.